What if I told you that the way you spend the first 60 seconds after waking up could shape your entire day, even your entire life? Most people wake up already drowning in noise, notifications, problems, distractions. But what if you had the power to start with peace instead of pressure? The Stoics believed that every morning is a gift, a rare privilege. The question is, do you treat it that way, or do you throw it away the moment you open your eyes? The Stoic philosophers once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That isn't just poetry. It's the foundation of life itself. Gratitude, they taught, isn't just a pleasant attitude. It's a weapon. A weapon against entitlement, against anxiety, against the restless chaos that waits for you the second you step out of bed. Gratitude pulls you out of your head and drags you back into the present moment, into the only place where real life actually happens. But here's the problem. Most people don't do this. They roll out of bed and fall head first into autopilot. Notifications, noise, mental clutter. They start reacting before they've even returned to themselves. And the truth is harsh. If you don't take control of your attention first thing in the morning, the world will gladly do it for you. Carl Jung once warned us, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Think about that. If you wake up and let your mind run wild, stressing about deadlines, people, problems, you're not really living. You're surviving, barely. Gratitude interrupts that destructive pattern. It anchors you before the storm of the day begins. Because let's be honest, most of us forget how rare and fragile this thing called life really is. We complain, we compare, we coast. But one unexpected event, a diagnosis, an accident, a sudden loss, can flip your entire world upside down in an instant. And when you finally grasp that nothing is guaranteed, gratitude stops being just a morning ritual. It becomes survival. It becomes strength. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't rush. Take 3 slow, steady breaths. Place your hand over your heart if you need to reconnect with your body and whisper it. I'm grateful to be here. Not to perform, not to impress, not to prove, just to be. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But maybe part of that examination isn't only about asking big philosophical questions. Maybe it's about practicing deep presence, about refusing to let life blur past you while you're distracted by everything that doesn't matter. You don't need a fancy journal or some flawless meditation routine. You need just one clean thought. This is enough. This moment is enough. And from that seed of enoughness, you begin to grow into someone who no longer needs chaos to feel alive. You approach your day with a different kind of strength, a quiet strength rooted in stillness, not speed. There's a huge difference between starting the day from pressure and starting it from purpose. One feels like drowning. The other feels like clarity. And that shift begins with intention. When you wake up with gratitude, you stop chasing peace all day long, because you've already begun with it. Think of it like tuning your inner frequency. When you're tuned to appreciation, the little irritations of life, traffic interruptions, delays, lose their power. They no longer control you, because you're not reacting from emptiness. You're responding from wholeness. Even Aristotle spoke to this when he reminded us, happiness depends upon ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in the recognition that your inner world creates your outer one. So ask yourself, have you noticed how the very first moments after you wake up shape the entire tone of your day? Most people reach for their phone, check messages, or start worrying about tasks before they've even taken a conscious breath. But the way you speak to yourself each morning, that quiet inner dialogue, is powerful. It sets the tone for your energy, your mindset, and how you face the world. And here's the truth. Those fleeting seconds between sleep and action are the most vulnerable your mind will ever be. What you choose to feed it in that moment either strengthens your core or weakens it. Because here's the truth. If you're constantly waking up stressed, overwhelmed, or just drifting aimlessly through the noise, you are not alone. But you do have a choice. And that's exactly where Stoicism enters, not as some dusty, ancient philosophy buried in books, but as a practical daily tool for survival. The Stoics believed that the way you begin your morning is how you train your soul. If you don't anchor your mind, the world will anchor it for you. And trust me, the world already has its own agenda. So if you're tired of waking up feeling behind, if you're ready to stop letting yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's anxieties own today's peace, then listen closely. I want to share with you 5 simple phrases, daily truths, that you can repeat to yourself each morning. They take less than a minute, but the shift they create is profound. It's personal. It's power. And if what we're building here resonates with you, if it helps you pause, reflect, and move through life with a little more clarity, then consider being part of it. A subscription isn't just support for this channel. It's a signal. A signal to yourself and to others that you value growth that actually lasts. You know what's wild? We're always chasing something. Success, clarity, love, money, answers, always running after the next milestone. Yet we rarely stop long enough to notice the one treasure we already have, this moment. And I don't mean the live in the now quote you scroll past on social media. I'm talking about the quiet, overlooked miracle of simply waking up, taking a breath, opening your eyes to an entirely unwritten day. A day you didn't earn, a day you weren't promised, but somehow you still received it. That's power, that's grace. And that's where real strength begins. Not in what you accomplish, not in what others think of you, but in how deeply you recognize the gift of simply being alive. Before the texts, before the endless to-do lists, even before coffee, pause. Place your hand on your chest if you need. 2. And tell yourself, I'm grateful to be here. Not because life is polished or perfect, but because life is present. You are still in the game. You still have time to evolve, time to make amends, time to take risks, time to speak truth, time to live honestly. Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest Stoic emperors, reminded us that you don't need to wait for circumstances to be ideal in order to feel fulfilled. Gratitude puts you back in control. It tells your mind, I don't need to have everything figured out to be okay. I don't need external proof to feel internally aligned. And that right there, that's emotional resilience. That's maturity. That's you, becoming someone the world cannot easily shake. And if we take it one step deeper, psychology now confirms what the Stoics seemed to know all along. Gratitude literally reshapes the brain. Studies from institutions like Harvard and Berkeley have shown that people who practice daily gratitude report higher levels of optimism, better sleep, and even stronger immune systems. Why? Not because their lives are easier, but because their focus is different. Where others see only problems, they see opportunities. Where others rush, they pause. And it all begins with this simple reset button, pressed every single morning. We saw how gratitude can reset your mornings and give you control before the world rushes in. Now let's take that idea even deeper. Plato once said, "A grateful mind is a great mind, which eventually attracts to itself great things." That isn't some mystical promise. It's simple cause and effect. When you're centered, your decisions are clearer. When you live with appreciation, you naturally attract people who carry that same energy. And when you're grounded, you're far less likely to be manipulated, distracted, or thrown off course. You don't just show up differently, you attract differently. That's why, before your day gets hijacked by obligations and overwhelm, you must own those first precious seconds, not with pressure, not with a rigid plan, but with presence. Whisper it. Feel it. I'm grateful to be here. Let those words soften your breath and widen your perspective. It may sound small, but that phrase carries the power to recalibrate your entire system. Because gratitude is not passive, it's powerful. It's how you claim control before the world even gets the chance to. It's how you stop merely existing and start truly living. And here's the truth. The more you practice it, the more you realize that this moment, this breath, this awareness, this life, is the foundation for everything else. Not your goals, not your schedule, not even your morning coffee, just this simple act of being present. So say it with me, not just once, but every single morning, before the noise, before the rush. I'm grateful to be here. That's your real reset. And that's where transformation begins. Have you ever noticed how some people wake up already tired? Not because they didn't sleep, but because they never truly let go of yesterday. Their bodies may have rested, but their minds are still spinning, replaying every mistake, every awkward moment, every conversation they wish had gone differently. It loops in their head like a song stuck on repeat, and whether they realize it or not, they drag all of that unfinished business into a brand new day. It's like trying to run a race while carrying yesterday's heavy suitcase. You're bound to trip eventually. Let's be real. We carry far too much weight from the day before. The missed deadline, the foolish mistake, the tense exchange. And sometimes it's not even just our own baggage. We haul around other people's moods, their judgments, their expectations. We let the shadow of what was follow us straight into what could be. But here's what most people forget. You're not meant to relive yesterday. You're meant to learn from it, and then leave it where it belongs. That's the real test. Not perfection, but release. So start here. Each morning, remind yourself, yesterday doesn't own me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your peace depends on it, because it does. That one simple sentence might not erase the past, but it separates you from it. It draws a boundary between what happened and what you're choosing now. And that boundary? That's freedom. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That line is gold. Because yes, what happened yesterday might explain your pain, but it doesn't define your path. You get to decide what story you're telling yourself today. You get to decide whether you carry shame or strength. And sadly, that's the part too many people give away. They replay the worst chapters of their life over and over, like unfinished homework. But at some point, you've got to close the book and start writing the next chapter. We talked about closing the book on yesterday and daring to write a new chapter. The Stoics had a powerful perspective on exactly this point. They believed that what truly matters isn't the event itself, but how you respond to it. Epictetus put it plainly, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Yesterday may have been a mess. Maybe you said the wrong thing, lost your temper, or missed an opportunity. Fine, but now what? Are you going to live there forever, replaying it endlessly? Or will you take what you learned and move forward, stronger, sharper, clearer? Think about it like this. Every new day is a blank journal page. But if you keep scribbling yesterday's story onto today's page, you'll never get to write anything new. That's why letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's emotional discipline. It's the decision to say, I won't waste today fighting battles I've already lost, or trying to fix things that no longer exist. That's strength, the kind most people overlook. The strength to stop picking the same wound over and over. Socrates believed that an examined life was essential. But examining doesn't mean reliving. It doesn't mean poking at the past until it bleeds again. Examining means observing, understanding, and then releasing. Take the lesson but leave the weight. And if that sounds too simple, ask yourself this. What has holding on to yesterday really done for you? Has it healed you? Has it helped you? Or has it only made your present heavier than it needs to be? Now, here's something practical. Picture your lingering thoughts, regret, guilt, embarrassment, as stones inside a backpack. Every morning, before you even get out of bed, close your eyes. Imagine lifting that backpack off your shoulders. Visualize it sliding down your arms and hitting the floor with a heavy thud. Then feel your body relax. Let that image become a daily ritual. Because when you let go both physically and mentally, your nervous system receives the message. We're safe. We're free. We're starting clean. Aristotle once taught that habit is what shapes character. So, what if you made letting go a habit? Not a one-time release, but a muscle you flex every single day. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to separate your identity from your old wounds. You stop being the person who's always messing up or always behind, and you start becoming the person who recovers fast, forgives quicker, and chooses peace on purpose. And it's not just about big, dramatic moments either. Sometimes, we carry tiny things we don't even realize are weighing us down. The tone in someone's text, a careless comment we overheard, a passive-aggressive remark that stuck under our skin. Little things that pile up until we're tense without even knowing why. That's why this practice matters daily. Not just when you've hit rock bottom, but every single morning. Check in, clear out. There's a quote often attributed to Plato. The beginning is the most important part of the work. And it's true. If you begin your day still carrying the residue of the past, your words, your choices, your actions, they all get filtered through that weight. But if you begin with presence and release, you gain clarity, you gain power. You stop dragging yesterday's noise into today's silence. So here's the move. Stop treating every new day as if it's just a continuation of your worst memory. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to your growth. Yesterday had its chance. Today is yours. And you owe it to yourself to claim it fully. We learned the power of letting go, of releasing yesterday so that today can truly be yours. But letting go is only half the battle. The other half is showing up fully, right here, right now. Say it with me again. Yesterday doesn't own me. That's not denial, it's direction. That's you choosing healing over hurt. That's you remembering that your future isn't built on the rubble of your past. It's built on the choices you make in this very moment. So, choose presence. Choose peace. Choose to drop the weight. And then, live like you mean it. Because let's be honest, these days, it's easy to feel like life is spinning out of control. One moment you're sipping coffee, and the next you're drowning in texts, news updates, endless messages, meetings piling up. And then the thoughts start racing, fast, noisy, demanding your attention. It's as if your mind has opened its own app and launched dozens of tabs you never clicked on. Before you even realize it, you're no longer thinking, you're being thought. You're reacting. You're chasing every feeling, every worry, every what if. It's exhausting, and it's a trap. The Stoics saw this coming centuries ago. They knew that the chaos outside isn't nearly as dangerous as the chaos inside. That's why they trained themselves daily to master their minds before the world could. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That right there is the very core of personal power. Not in controlling others, not in controlling every outcome, but in controlling the only thing you truly can, your response. And this is exactly where your morning comes in. Because before the world wakes up and starts screaming for your attention, there's this tiny sacred window of silence, a pause. And what you do in that pause sets the tone for everything. So here's your anchor. Say this to yourself. I control my mind. Say it before your phone, before your tasks, before your thoughts start spinning. Say it with your whole chest. Because when you claim that truth early, you build a shield that lasts all day. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." That's not just poetry, it's a blueprint. Most people drift through their days completely outward focused, pulled by noise, comparison, ego, and status. But the moment you shift your gaze inward, even for just 60 seconds, you start to wake up. You realize not every emotion is true. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your mind might be busy, but you don't have to be. Here's something simple you can try first thing in the morning. Just sit still for 1 minute. Nothing fancy. No music. No scrolling. Just you and your breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale even slower. And as the thoughts come, and they will come, let them pass like drifting clouds. Don't grab onto them. Don't judge them. Just breathe. That space between stimulus and response, that's where your power lives. That's where you remember. I am not my thoughts. I am the one watching them. Plato believed, the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Not your job, not your schedule, not your inbox, yourself. And that victory begins in your head. Every time you catch yourself spiraling, overthinking, reacting, you have a choice. Will you let your mind drag you around, or will you direct it? Will you be the driver or just the passenger? And look, this isn't about becoming some monk sitting on a mountain. It's about practical control in a noisy world. It's about choosing your mood instead of being hijacked by it. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to feed every fear. You don't have to let every little inconvenience steal your peace. We explored the truth that real strength begins with mastering your mind. choosing to direct it instead of letting it drag you. But there's another layer to this mastery, protecting your peace. Because peace isn't passive. Peace is a decision. And the more often you decide to claim it, the more natural it becomes. Socrates once said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And that new begins with you. With you declaring, this is the direction I'm moving in. This is the tone I'm setting. This is the mindset I choose." Your mindset is not something you inherit. It's something you train, and modern psychology proves this. Neuroscience tells us that your brain isn't fixed. It's plastic. It literally rewires itself based on what you focus on. If you spend your mornings reacting, doom scrolling, comparing and complaining, your brain gets better at stress. But if you spend those same mornings anchoring, breathing, choosing, observing, your brain gets better at calm. You're literally training yourself for peace. Even Aristotle reminded us, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Think about that. You don't wake up one day mentally strong by accident. You build it morning after morning by choosing the same intention, by whispering and meaning it. I control my mind. That's your rep. That's your discipline. And just like lifting a weight, it gets easier with time. So the next time your mind starts pulling you toward doubt, anger, or distraction, pause, breathe, and remember, just because the thought showed up doesn't mean you have to follow it. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's true. When trained, your inner voice is stronger than all the outer noise combined, but you have to choose it, and yes, you will slip. You'll have days where your mind runs the show and you forget all of this. That's okay. Don't judge it. Just return. The Stoics never preached perfection. They preached awareness. Real growth doesn't come from never slipping. It comes from noticing sooner when you do, and returning faster to who you really are. So tomorrow morning, before the emails, before the headlines, before the world stretches its hand toward your attention, sit with yourself. Close your eyes. Inhale calm, exhale chaos, and say it out loud or in your heart. I control my mind. Let that be your compass. Let that be your center. Because yes, the world will be loud, but you are louder when you choose to be. That's how you take your power back every single day. And here's the beautiful thing. There's something magnetic about people who walk into a room and bring calm with them. They don't have to raise their voice or dominate the space. Their very presence feels grounded. You feel safe around them. You sense that their energy isn't trying to prove anything, and you wonder, how do they do that? The answer isn't fame or money or some shiny self-help routine. It's something simpler, something much more powerful. It's kindness, real kindness, the kind that isn't performative, but rooted in inner strength, not weakness. Have you ever met someone whose energy just felt peaceful? That's not random, that's intentional. It starts with this daily choice. Kindness is my superpower. And no, not in the fluffy Instagram quote kind of way, in a grounded, practical, stoic way. Because being kind doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you or avoiding difficult truths. In fact, it's the opposite. True kindness requires self-control. It requires discipline. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Kindness is invincible if it's sincere, not fawning or pretending." What can even the most malicious person do if you keep treating them with kindness and remain firm? That's the balance. Gentle, but not fragile. Soft-spoken, but not silent. And in our modern world, we often mistake harshness for strength, as if being cold or detached somehow proves you're in control. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. The strongest person isn't the one who controls others. It's the one who controls themselves. In the last section, we saw how true strength isn't harshness, but kindness, firm, grounded, and intentional. Now let's take a closer look at what that really means. Kindness is a form of self-mastery. It shows you've developed enough awareness to pause before reacting, enough humility to listen before judging, and enough courage to extend grace even when it isn't deserved. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." That line hits hard, doesn't it? Because we all carry storms within us. Our insecurities, our pain, our fears. And when we see those storms in others, we often forget they're battling their own version of the same struggles we're facing. Kindness builds the bridge across that gap. It's not about being overly positive or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to see the humanity in people, even when it's buried under layers of defensiveness or anger. Start your day with that mindset and you'll feel the shift. You'll speak softer, not because you're weak, but because you no longer need to shout to be heard. You'll respond slower, not because you're indifferent, but because you value peace more than being right. And you'll lead with patience, not because you don't care, but because you understand that transformation takes time, yours and everyone else's. Socrates once said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." He wasn't being poetic. He was being real. Most of the pain people project has nothing to do with you. It's their own burden, their own wounds, their own unresolved stories. When you live from that awareness, you stop taking things so personally. You start to see beyond the surface. That rude comment? Probably fear. That passive-aggressive tone? Likely insecurity. That silence? Maybe pain. Kindness doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does mean responding with clarity instead of ego. And here's where it gets practical. Visualize one kind thing you'll do today. Seriously, pick something right now. Maybe it's complimenting someone who looks discouraged. Maybe it's pausing to truly listen when someone speaks. Maybe it's sending a quick text to a friend just to say you're thinking of them. It doesn't matter how small it seems. It all adds up. That one act might be the only good thing someone experiences today. And here's the wild part. It will probably do more for you than it does for them. Because every act of kindness reinforces your identity as someone who leads with intention, not impulse. Plato believed that excellence is not an act, but a habit. The same is true for kindness. It's not about waiting until you're in the perfect mood or until someone deserves it. It's about deciding every day who you want to be and then practicing it until it becomes second nature. And when kindness becomes your nature, your presence shifts. You stop walking into rooms trying to get something. Instead, you show up ready to offer something. That's a different kind of power, a deeper kind. And yes, people might misunderstand you. They might mistake your patience for passivity, but that's their perception, not your truth. We discovered that kindness isn't weakness. It's a form of strength, a discipline that reshapes who you are. But here's the key. You don't practice kindness for others. You practice it for yourself, because you're not doing it to win applause or to earn approval. You're doing it because it aligns with your values. You're doing it because it reflects the person you are building, brick by brick, each day. And the truth is, nothing builds long-term influence like consistent kindness. Not charm, not intellect, not hustle, kindness. The Stoics weren't soft. They were warriors of the mind. They endured hardship, betrayal, and loss, and yet they still believed in leading with virtue. For them, kindness wasn't an accessory you put on when it was convenient. It was core. It was the foundation of a life well lived. And when you truly understand that, you stop looking for applause. You stop trying to prove your worth. You just live it, quietly, consistently, completely. So tomorrow morning, before you're swept into the chaos of the day, pause. Center yourself. Remind your mind. Kindness is my superpower. Not because you need people to like you, but because it's who you choose to be. Then step into the world and live like someone who isn't afraid to be good. Not fake good, not fragile good. Strong good. The kind of goodness that leaves a mark, that shifts the energy of a room. That, more often than not, ends up changing people, starting with you. And yet, have you ever blinked and realized an entire week just vanished? Not in a poetic, life is beautiful kind of way, but in a disorienting, where did the time go? Kind of way. One moment you're sipping your morning coffee, the next you're buried under a mountain of notifications, meetings, and responsibilities you barely remember agreeing to. It's like the day ran away without asking permission, and you're stuck scrambling to catch up. That's modern life for most of us. Fast, loud, demanding. But here's something that cuts through all that noise like a blade. Everything is temporary. And that truth isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. The stress, temporary. The pressure, temporary. Even the joy, the peace, the good moments, they too will pass. And that's what makes them precious. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They practiced memento mori, a daily reminder of mortality. Not to be dark or depressing, but to stay aware. Because when you truly realize that nothing is guaranteed, not tomorrow, not even the next hour, you begin to treat the present moment with a deeper respect. Plato once said, "Time is the moving image of eternity." That line hits differently when you consider how little of it we actually use well. We spend so much of our time regretting the past or worrying about the future, and so rarely do we simply exist. But presence is a skill. It's a discipline. It's something you have to train, just like your body, your mind, or your patience. Carl Jung believed that the ability to be fully present is one of the core components of mental wellness. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Most of our anxiety lives in the future. Most of our sorrow lives in the past. But the present? The present is where your feet actually stand. It's where your breath lives. It's where your power exists. And yet, we're so distracted we miss it. We miss the sunlight streaming through the window, the taste of breakfast, the way the air feels just before a rainstorm. Small moments, overlooked by many, that are, in fact, everything. So here's your reminder. Say it to yourself like you mean it. This moment is all I have, so I'm going to enjoy it. Not tomorrow, not later, now, this cup of coffee, this quiet space before the day begins. In the last section, we were reminded that everything is temporary, and because of that, every single moment is precious. Now let's bring that truth into how we actually live our daily lives. Think about it. The kids waking up in the morning, a conversation with a friend where, for once, nobody is checking their phone. Life isn't waiting to start. It's happening right now. And if you're not fully in it, you're not just missing time. You're missing your life. Aristotle spoke of eudaimonia, the idea of flourishing, of living a good and meaningful life. He didn't tie that to some distant achievement or external success. He tied it to virtue in action, how you live each moment, how you show up with integrity, awareness, and intention. Enjoying the present doesn't mean ignoring your responsibilities. It means learning how to fully experience whatever moment you're in, even the messy ones. But let's be honest, presence is hard. It's so much easier to distract yourself, to stay busy, to always plan for what's next. Because sitting still with yourself, that's where the real work begins. The Stoics had a name for this inner stillness: ataraxia, a serene calm that isn't shaken by the outside world. And one of the fastest ways to touch that calm is simple. Slow down and notice the moment you're in. Whether it's brushing your teeth or watching the wind move through the trees, let yourself be there. And look, this isn't about pretending life isn't stressful. Of course it is. The world will always move fast. People will always demand your time and energy. But when you practice presence, you stop handing away your power. You stop being ruled by urgency. And instead you choose clarity. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That's it. Not just surviving, but actually enjoying. And enjoyment doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It can be found in stillness, in quiet appreciation, in the pause between things. So tomorrow, or even right now as you're hearing this, pause. Take one deep breath. Feel it travel through your chest. Notice where your feet are planted. Notice what you hear, smell, taste, and touch. Be exactly where you are, not where you think you need to be. Presence is power, because it brings you back to yourself. Not the version of you that's performing, not the version planning or regretting. Just you, right here. Socrates, the master of questioning everything, once asked, "How can you wonder at your travels when you carry yourself around with you?" The truth is, it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. If you can't be present, nothing will satisfy you. Not success, not status, not escape. That's why presence isn't optional. It's essential. If you want more fulfillment, more connection, more peace, it doesn't come from doing more. It comes from noticing more. It comes from paying attention. It comes from choosing to enjoy the little things while they're happening, instead of missing them and wishing you had. This moment, this very one, is already slipping away. Not in a dramatic explosion, but quietly, like it always does. So hold it a little longer, appreciate it a little deeper, and remind yourself often, everything is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. That mindset doesn't just slow down time, it stretches it. It makes life richer, fuller, more meaningful. And over time, you begin to realize this moment was never small. It was everything. You just needed to notice. So as you move through today, whatever it holds, carry this truth with you. Peace isn't found in the next moment. It's found in this one. Right here, right now. And if this message spoke to something inside you, there's another video waiting on your screen that dives even deeper into building a life rooted in stillness, clarity, and inner strength. I think you'll find it powerful. Thank you for being here and for being a part of life through Stoicism.